Hello lovely people, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all well. Ironically, this is about the third time I filmed this video. Why is it irony, you ask? Because we're talking Peter Pan goes wrong. Every technical problem that I could have to deal with, I've dealt with in the preparation for this video. So if you want to know my thoughts and feelings on this show, then stick around and we'll get into it in 2 whole seconds. So yeah, Peter Pan goes wrong, one of the Mischief productions. I have been a fan of Mischief and their shows for quite a while. I actually think I didn't fully watch a Mischief show until I'd started doing YouTube. Not this channel, my previous channel that I used to have back in the day. And I made it my purpose to go out and watch all the available Mischief at the time, which was Play That Goes Wrong and Bank Robbery. They were my first 2 jumps into the Mischief world. Since then, obviously, there has been Grown Ups, there has been Magic Goes Wrong, Peter Pan Goes Wrong, there has also been offshoots like The Mind Mangler, and also Good Luck Charlie. No, that's a TV programme. That's a Disney cheesy movie. Good Luck Studio is in fact what I actually meant. Also, they have had televised versions of shows like Christmas Carol Goes Wrong, and also Peter Pan Goes Wrong, and on top of that they've had 2 separate series of the Goes Wrong show. I have watched most, if not all, of those stage wise versions. I haven't watched Magic Goes Wrong and I haven't watched the Mind Mangler, excuse me, but like I said, I have been a fan for quite a while. The TV programs actually got me through lockdowns because I at the time was unemployed. I was not in the best mental capacity, and yeah, it got me through a lot, so I'm truly grateful to Mischief for that. But one of the shows that had evaded me until recently was Peter Pan Goes Wrong. I had seen the TV version, but obviously there are aspects that are different between the 2, just down to how things can be put onto screen that can't be done on stage and vice versa. So when they announced they were doing a UK tour, I got very excited. They then did Wolverhampton when I was unable to get there. And then lo and behold, the Christmas Goes Wrong gods were in my favour, because they announced that they were going to do a short run over Christmas at the Lyric Theatre in the West End, and I just so happened to be in London recently, so I got myself a ticket and went down to the show. The bonuses for me and this show is that, like I said, I had previously seen the televised version, so I knew if there was going to be bangs, where the loud bangs were going to be. In fact, bangs weren't a massive problem for me. There wasn't very many loud noises, which is surprising, seeing as though it goes wrong. You expect a lot of loudness and flashing lights and such, but for me personally it wasn't the biggest problem. There was a bigger problem in my performance, which we'll get into at the very end, because it's actually nothing to do with the actual show. But let's get into a little bit of the backstory and a little bit of the creative side before we talk about the rest. So if you don't know, basically Peter Pan Goes Wrong is the telling of the Peter Pan story with obvious things that go terribly wrong. People get injured, there is breakdown of relationships, there is a snapping crocodile, there is everything and anything. People get hurt, and therefore you kind of know what's going to happen in a way if you've ever watched any iteration of Peter Pan, and you also know that there is going to be elements that don't go quite to plan because it is a goes wrong show. The show itself is written by the three usual suspects in the mischief world: Henry Lewis, Henry Shields and Jonathan Sayer. The stage version is directed by Adam Megiddo, who to some is known as one of the members of Showstoppers group, but he also has a long-running production relationship with Mischief. If you are like me and a massive fan of the Hell or High Rollers podcast, you will also know Adam from that. This stage version had a lot of the similar mishaps and jokes and everything to the televised version, so if you've ever seen that, you kind of know what you're stepping into, and the same team that is behind the set and the costumes and everything from the televised version is also part of this creative team. So the set is Simon Scullion's work, the costumes are by Roberto Sirace, and yeah, basically if like me you are a fan of the one that's been on the telly, you will also be a fan of this one, especially creatively. Like I said, there are some slight differences in between this show and the TV version, but at the same time they aren't massive changes, and some of them are because it works better on a stage than it would do on a screen, if that makes sense. Cast wise, this is the main reason that I decided to plunge for a London ticket over trying to break my back to watch it on tour, and that is because for the London production of this show, some of what I class as the OGs have come back to perform their roles from previous times. So for example, Charlie Russell, he's playing Wendy, who is actually, it's very confusing when it comes to who's playing who, because technically they are all playing one person who is playing another. So Charlie Russell is playing Sandra, who is playing Wendy, if that makes sense. Also from what I class as the OGs, we have got Nancy Zammit, who is playing Annie, who is playing Mrs. Darling, Lisa and Tinkerbell. See what I mean? So to see those two who have done the role previously on both stage and on TV, it was really cool to see them in the flesh. The same with a few of the other members of Mischief who have come back to do their roles, including Greg Tannehill, who is playing Jonathan, who is playing Peter Pan, as well as Chris Leask, who is playing Trevor, and Ellie Morris, who's playing Lucy, who's playing Tootles. I feel like my audience were really behind Tootles in the end. Obviously Tootles has quite the arc, from her timid beginnings, her slight injury, to how she finishes the show. It's just really lovely to watch. Also in this cast is a few others that I've previously seen in different shows, including Matt Cavendish, who plays Max in this production, Max who plays Michael Darling, a mermaid and a crocodile, snap snap, and also Harry Kershaw, who's playing Chris Bean, the director, who is Mr. Darling and Captain Hook. For me, it was very interesting to watch Harry in that role, because every time I've seen Harry previously, either in previous Mischief works or also on other productions, for example I saw Harry in What's New Pussycat, he is always the like lovable, silly, comedic person. And obviously the role of Chris Bean, the director, is always quite straight-laced. I very much enjoyed in the second act at one point the audience were a little bit nuts in my show, and it got to a point they were just booing anything and anyone. And Harry, I don't know if it's ad-libbed or if it's just part of the show, said something along the lines of, "This is why I said we shouldn't have a Sunday matinee, because it's full of children and drunk parents." And I was just like, you just hit the nail on the head, because it was very true and I really enjoyed that moment. So top marks if it was ad-libbed, and also top marks if it is part of the show, because it proved and raised a point very poignantly. Rounding up the cast were some new faces to me, playing the role of Robert Groves, who is Nana the dog, Peter Shadow and Starkey. We had Matthew Howell, who was very, very funny to watch, especially in that role of Robert. We had, playing Dennis, who plays John Darling, the mermaid, and Smee. Have I said the mermaid for someone else? Yes, I have. There's two mermaids. Did I know that? Yes, I did. Playing Dennis was Clark Devlin, and playing Francis, who is the narrator and also Checo, is Jean-Luc Worrell. I feel like I've mentioned everybody now in that cast. Every part of that cast was well tuned and very cleverly performed. Obviously with Mischief, with a show that has the ability to go wrong, you need that well-oiledness, you need that collective genius, and this cast had it in spades. Like I said at the beginning, there was elements of this show that were not my favourite, but it wasn't what was on stage, it was to do with the audience. I have previously mentioned that it was quite a ruckus crowd, and I feel that because of the audience themselves, it kind of took away from some of the enjoyment for me seeing that show. Like I said, Mischief is a big part of my enjoyment of theatre, and I've really enjoyed seeing their shows in the past, but watching them having to battle with the crowd that they had to battle with was a little bit tough on me to watch them get through it. Saying that though, they did absolutely excellently, and for me it was all about the experience of seeing a show that I'd seen many times on a screen before in the flesh, with characters and cast that I had been dying to see in these roles for so long. And therefore I am truly grateful that they decided to come into the Lyric over the Christmas period and perform this show for the world. Bit extreme, I know, but that is my feelings from experiencing the pre-show work and seeing cast members go here, there and everywhere around the theatre in the stalls, which is where I bought my ticket for that reason specifically, to watching them throughout the show and doing the genius that he's written was just such a joy to see. I'm definitely glad that I bought myself a ticket and I went to see that show. and I'm very grateful to Mischief that they brought it back for this festive period. I feel like I now need to complete the set and hope that they bring Magic Goes Wrong back in some shape or form, just so I can tick it off my list. Or they can bring out more Mischief creations, because I will always go and watch them. In fact, I think I did sit during the interval and think that I would like to return to the OG Play That Goes Wrong in the not too distant future, just to re-enjoy that show. I haven't seen it in such a long time and it'd be nice to go back. But there we go. We are done and dusted talking about Peter Pan Goes Wrong. I know I did speak quite often in this review about the TV version, but honestly, because I've seen that version so many times, it is tricky not to like keep them separate. So there is that. However, whether you've seen the TV version or not, I feel like you're gonna have a great time seeing this show. Peter Pan Goes Wrong is going to be in the Lyric until the 14th of January, and I would 100% recommend catching this show and its cast. My two recommendations would be, number one, not to go on a weekend matinee because it is a little bit insane, and number two, to get to the theatre relatively early, because you will be queuing outside to go in and get your bags checked, but also to catch that pre-show craziness, which is unlike any other show. And who knows, you might get involved in finding a tiny hammer or plugging in the electric into the mains. If that makes no sense to you, you definitely need to go and get yourself a ticket and go and see what I mean. But there we go, that is it. I'm going to leave this video here and say thank you very much for watching. I'm going to get myself back into my very warm blanket jumper, which I took off for this video. But yes, I love you all lots. I hope you come back for more theatre and festive fun over the next month and beyond for theatre, but obviously festive fun has to end eventually. But that is it. Thank you for watching. I love you all lots, and I'll see you next time. Bye.